All right, everyone. So yesterday we learned that there's two different branches of SQL. There's data definition language, DDL, and there's data manipulation language, DML. Yesterday we focused on DDL, but I'm gonna do a recap right now, and then we can skip ahead to data manipulation language. So to recap data definition language, we learned a few functions. We learned about use, and you have to use for making a decision about what database you want to use, as the name suggests, um, before you go into making changes to what's inside of that database, including tables and columns and things like that. So the basic way of doing this is you just type out use and then you add the database name. That's it. The next one is create. You can create a database by saying create database and then adding the database name. And then if you do that, yeah, you can just do that. Or you can do the create table by adding table name. And then if you do that, you have to open a parentheses, close the parentheses, add a semicolon, and then indent, and add the column name, the data type for that column. And then you decide here whether you want that column to become, if it's an integer, to become an identity, which means that SQL automatically generates values for this. And if you decide to do that, then you have to add the seed and then the incremental value into that. And then you're also going to make a decision over whether it's going to be a null or not null value. Meaning, do we want to accept null values or not? The next one is alter. We learned so far just to alter tables. So in order to alter a table, you have to say the table name. And then right below it, you decide whether you want to add or drop a column. So to add a column, you just say add, and then you add the column name, data type for that column. That's it. If you wanted to drop a column, meaning to remove a column, you have to say drop column, and then you have to say what the column name is. And if you wanted to do severals, then you do a comma and then column name. Yeah. Okay. So that's the next one. Then you can also use the drop function to drop an entire table and then say what the table name is. And then finally, you can use the truncate table function to remove the rows of the table while keeping the skeleton, and you just say the table name. So that's data definition language, and these are all the functions that we learned. Now let's go back to data manipulation language. So data manipulation language, there's a few functions that I'm going to tackle today, and those are select, update, merge, delete, and insert. So it turns out that when you're learning SQL through what I use the software called SQL Bolt here, we're actually using DML. So to use DML, the first function that we need to learn is the select function. So select always comes hand in hand with from and always ends with a semicolon. So what are we selecting? We're selecting specific columns from a specific table. So in this case, I want to select all the columns, which is the star, from the customers table, which is right here. So when I do that and I run F5, it will give me this result that we see at the bottom. You can also select specific columns. So say I wanted to only see customer ID, then I can do that. I can also select distinct columns based on state, for example. And it will return only one row of the specific state that we have. So it removes any duplicates that I have as part of my database. You can also rename this by using the as statement. So you say as, and then you add the name, the new name of it. So US states, for example. All right. So that is just what you can do in the select part of it. Oh, there's one more thing that you can do in the select part of it. So you can add an aggregated function to here while you're doing queries. So I can do average, I can do sum, etc. And it will give me the results here. The different aggregations are sum, average, max, min, and count. And you can do either count by all the columns or count by the specific column name. All right, these are the functions. So let's go back. Select everything from customers. Let's end it, query it. All right, we're back to scratch. And this time, instead of ending it there, I'm going to give some conditions. So I'm going to use the where clause to say I want the customer ID, for example, to be between or to be lower than 10,060. Okay, just add some space here and then run it. All right, and that will return the information here. I can also make it equal to 1060, and it will give me that specific information. So the operating functions above, below, equal, and then to make something not equal, then you just have to use the exclamation mark and then click on equal and then run it. All right, so you'll notice that I don't have the 1060 now. And then you can also say something like is null or not null. In this case, it won't return anything because I don't have any nulls. And if I do that, then it will return everything because everything I have is not null. Now let's go through the hypothetical that instead of saying where customer ID is something or not, say we wanted to find any address that has point in it, for example. Well, there's a field for that. So to do that, you just need to say where address like, and then one quotation mark, point, and another percentage mark, and then one bracket, and then let's run it. All right, so here you go. So this will show up as a result of that.